All right, if you're someone who gives to charity, you're going to want to lean in for this one. A major new tax law has just come down the pike, and it's completely rewriting the rules for donations. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what these changes mean for you and your giving strategy.
So what's the deal here? Well, this new law creates some really big opportunities for some donors, but it also throws up some new hurdles for others. The key question we're going to explore together is this: how are these changes going to affect your game plan for giving, not just this year, but for years to come? And we're not talking about a small group of people. This is huge. Because of some big changes to the standard deduction over the years, nearly 90% of Americans don't itemize their taxes anymore. And for this massive group, the new law actually brings some really good news. Okay, so first things first, let's dive into the good news. For the vast majority of taxpayers out there, this new law creates a permanent tax break for charitable giving, and that's something that, for them, has never existed before. Think about it. If you take the standard deduction, you've probably never gotten a tax benefit for the donations you make. Well, starting in 2026, that all changes. The law is introducing a permanent above-the-line deduction. That just means it lowers your taxable income directly, even if you don't go through the hassle of itemizing.
So let's talk numbers. If you're a single filer, you can deduct up to $1,000 in cash donations. And for married couples filing jointly, that number doubles to $2,000. We saw a smaller, temporary version of this during the pandemic, and it was incredibly popular. So this is expected to be a real shot in the arm for giving.
Okay, but there are a few important catches you need to know about. This new deduction is for cash gifts only. So, donating clothes or other items won't count for this specific break. Also, contributions to things like donor-advised funds, and we'll circle back to those in a bit, and private foundations are also not eligible here.
All right, so that's the story for most people. But what if you're in that smaller group, the roughly 14% of folks who do itemize their deductions? Well, for you, the story is quite a bit different. The new law introduces some serious complexities, creating new hurdles you'll have to navigate, especially if you're a higher income donor. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, we got to get one key term down cold: adjusted gross income, or AGI. You see it on your tax forms all the time. Basically, it's your total income minus a few specific adjustments. This number, it's the bedrock for how all these new rules for itemizers actually work.
Starting in 2026, the law creates a brand new floor for your charitable deductions. And honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it like an insurance deductible. You can only start deducting your donations after you've given a certain amount first.
This chart breaks it down perfectly. Let's walk through an example. Say your AGI is $200,000 and you donate $10,000. Under the current 2025 rules, you deduct the whole $10,000. Simple. But in 2026, you first have to clear that new floor, which is 0.5% of your AGI, or $1,000 in this case. That first $1,000 is no longer deductible, so your total deduction drops to $9,000.
And there are a couple of other quick changes for itemizers to keep on your radar. For the highest earners, the actual value of their deductions is getting capped. And on a different note, the cap for deducting state and local taxes, the SALT deduction, it gets a temporary boost in 2025, which might actually push more people to itemize that year specifically.
So all these changes, right, they really create an urgent need for some smart planning. The question becomes, how can you adapt your strategy to maximize not just your tax benefits, but also your charitable impact? Let's get into some options. Okay, the most immediate strategy, and frankly, the most important one for many, is to look at 2025 as a window of opportunity. Since that new deduction floor and the value cap don't kick in until 2026, it might make a ton of sense to front-load or accelerate your planned giving into this tax year.
This leads us right into a popular technique called bunching. The idea here is actually pretty simple. Instead of giving smaller amounts every single year, you consolidate or bunch several years' worth of donations into one single year. This helps you give enough to sail right over that new 0.5% AGI floor and really maximize your tax savings.
So how do you actually do this bunching thing effectively?
Well, a lot of people use something called a donor-advised fund, or a DAF. You can make one big tax-deductible contribution to your DAF in 1 year, like say 2025, and then you can grant that money out to your favorite charities over the next several years. It's a fantastic tool for this.
Now, I want to talk to a specific group of donors for a minute, because there's a powerful strategy out there that basically lets you sidestep all of this new complexity. If you're over 70 and a half, this next part is especially for you. We're talking about a giving superpower.
Yup, if you are over the age of 70 and a half, you can pretty much ignore a lot of the complicated itemizing rules we just went over. There's a much more direct, much more tax-efficient way for you to give.
It's called a qualified charitable distribution, or QCD. This lets you transfer money directly from your traditional IRA straight to a charity. And here's the magic part. That money is completely excluded from your taxable income. It's not a deduction. It's like that income never even existed in the first place.
And the benefits here are just huge. I mean, look at this. For 2025, you can give up to $108,000 this way. And since the money is excluded from your income, it completely bypasses that new deduction floor and the value cap. For most donors in this age group, it is hands down the most tax-savvy way to support the causes they care about.
You know, after all this talk of strategy and floors and deductions, it's so important to zoom out and remember why any of this matters. Optimizing your taxes is great because it means you can potentially give more. And that's the real goal, right? The impact your donation has in the community.
This quote just brings it all home, doesn't it? It's a powerful reminder that every single dollar is about real-world impact. Whether it's funding new medical equipment, supporting scholarships, or recruiting doctors, your giving is what fuels the essential work that makes our communities stronger.
So here's the bottom line. The tax code is shifting right under our feet. The strategies that worked perfectly last year might not be the best ones for next year. With all these new rules in mind, the question you've got to ask yourself is this: how will your giving change?